Okay, back to part 2. So we were looking at these shapes, and we figured out that we can write them as a fraction very simply. Count up the equal parts that make up the whole, that's your denominator, and the shaded parts, that's your numerator. So we've got all those set up. Now we're going to go look at shaded region as a percent. So don't forget, what we looked at before was turning them into a fraction out of 100. Now, this doesn't always work, but I know it will for these. We're starting off with simple examples in this tutorial. So 5/10 is how many hundredths? Well, 10 times 10 is 100. And if we make an equivalent fraction by multiplying the numerator by the same number, by 10, we'll get 50 hundredths. Okay, let's look at this example. 12 twentieths. If I turn that into hundredths, 20 times what is 100? It's 20 times 5. So if I do the same thing in the numerator, I'll get 60. And 5 25ths, how many hundredths is that? 25 times 4 is 100. And if you multiply the 5 times 4, you'll get 20. Okay, so now we have our percents. Here we have 50 over 100. That's 50 per 100. 50 per cent. Simple, right? Okay, now this one we have 60 over 100. That's 60 per cent. So we can just type, right, 60%. Now here we have 20 per 100. That's 20 per cent. And there we go. So we've got our percentages. Now what are these as decimals? Well, to go from percent to decimal, you can take your percent and simply move the decimal place 2 places to the left. Or you can actually just read the fraction out of 100. And 50 hundredths, we're just going to write, oh, I thought I had a text box in there. Nope. We're just going to write 0.50. 0.50. That's 50 hundredths. We know that extra 0 is not necessary, so I can get rid of it. Okay? Or I could also see that to move from 50%, moving the decimal place 2 places to the left gives me 0.5. All right, now what do we have here? We have 60 per 100, 60%, and so that can be written as a decimal as 0.60. Read that decimal. That's hundredths, right? 60 hundredths, isn't that what we have here? And of course, we don't need that extra 0. 6/10 is the same thing. And the last one, we're going to go from 20% into a decimal. That's 20 per 100, 20 hundredths. I can write 20 hundredths. There we go, 0.20. Of course, we don't need that last 0. 2/10 is the same thing as 20 hundredths. And there we go. We've got all of these converted. Okay, and that's what you're going to be doing on your quiz, and we're going to be working on tomorrow. And hopefully it becomes very easy for you to do these ones where I've got a denominator that will turn into a fraction out of 100. Pretty simple, right? To review, we'll just go over it again. You've got a fraction, and that can be turned into a percent by simply writing a fraction, denominator of 100, that is an equivalent fraction, and then you just write the top number as your percent. 20, the numerator is 20%, for example, here. And then that can be converted into a decimal just by reading it out loud, or dividing 20 by 100 if you're not really sure what we're talking about. Okay, that's about it. Let's try it.